concert this upcoming June. Under Department and Committee reports, item A, we have our monthly report from Operations Services in our packet. Item B, the sewer report from the city is there. Item C, the minutes of the May DDA meeting and the director's report. D, Board of Review is not met. Item E, the Building and Grounds Committee, those minutes from the May meeting are in your packet along with a proposal from the committee to consider employing D&L Shaw Company again for some brush clearing, specifically autumn olive, in the amount of $3,646.50. We had them do some of that same type of work back in 2020. The price has gone up just over $600, I believe it was, from what they did in 2020. Item F is the minutes of the Planning Commission meeting from May. And G, the Zoning Administrator's report is in your packet. H, Personnel Committee is not met. Item I, the Elections Commission, those minutes are in your packet from their last meeting. Item J, the Fire Department, Jim's report is in front of you on the table. And then item K and L, ZBA and PEG have not met. Under new business, we have item A, consideration of approval in the amount of $109.99 to Jack Pine for a computer monitor for the zoning administrator. Item B is consideration of approval in the amount of $17,393 to Northern Pump and Well for the cleaning of well number 4. Item C, upon supervisor's recommendation, consideration of approval of the appointment of a member, resident in the Downtown Development District to the DDA to serve a 2-year term ending December 31st of 2026. There was one vacancy and there was one applicant. And then on your tables in front of you are 2 agenda addendums. Item D would be a proposal from Burnham and Flower Insurance Group for policy covering our firefighters. And item E is a invoice from Top Line Electric LLC in the amount of $10,522.60. It says for repairs to well 4. That was actually for a VFD that went bad when they were, after they had fired it back up after the cleaning. Josh went to collect his first sample and the VFD went on it, and so they couldn't do anything. Actually, that was Memorial weekend, and so I think it was on that Friday, either Friday or Saturday, he called me, and the soonest he could get one from Top Line was delivered then on that Tuesday, the day after Memorial Day, and so that's what that bill is for. But it goes along with repairs on well 4. If there's no other additions to the agenda or changes, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I so move. I'll support.
Motion by Dean Cruz, second by Hachinsky to approve the meeting agenda for tonight. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On tonight's consent agenda, we have item A, minutes of the regular board meeting from May 7th with changes noted. Item B is the financial report. Item C is approval of the Township General Fund expenditures, which includes the fire department, and those cover checks numbered 41536 through 41601. Accounts payable total $106,152.26. Payroll is $16,832.84 for a grand total of $122,985.10. Item D is approval of the water department expenditures. Those are checks 3244 through 3251, and they total $22,236.64. Item E is approval of the sewer operating expenditures, checks, that is just check number 1236, and it's a total of $52.67. Item F is approval of the monthly ACH payments to the state of Michigan and the IRS in the amount of $3,867.77. Item G is approval in the amount of $100 for the clerk to attend the MTA election meeting June 17th in White Cloud. Item H is approval of advertising for seeking bids for the weekly collection and disposal of trash and the 3 leaf dumpsters for a 3-year period commencing July 1st, 2024. And I should add to that, in addition to the 3 leaf dumpsters, we do have that small dumpster at Magoon Creek, which is included in that contract. Item I is approval to advertise for bids to repair and replace sidewalks throughout the township. Any other changes, additions to the consent agenda for tonight? If not, we need a motion for approval.
I so move.
I'll second.
Motion by Kalinowski, second by Steggy to approve the consent agenda for tonight. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public comment. Any public comment tonight? Okay, that takes us to our presenters for tonight then, Krista and Dan. Krista Phillips and Dan Wagner, both with MDOT, so they provided you with a little packet of information. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Dan Wagner. I'm the manager of the Traverse City Transportation Service Center. I'm joined here tonight with Krista Phillips. She's our operations engineer. Thought maybe I could just give you a quick little overview of our office, and then Krista's here to talk specifically about a pretty exciting project that we have. It's going to be quite an opportunity that we feel really transform the whole community here. But we have a staff of 21. 2 of us included that work out of our office at Traverse, and we oversee all trunk line or any state road issues. So any of the M roads, M22, US 31, roads with those state road designations in Leelanau, Benzie, Grand Traverse, Kalkaska, Manistee, Misaki, and Wexford County. I think we'll have Wexford out there. 7 counties. We have about 600 miles of roadway that we oversee. Anything having to do with, somebody needs a driveway permit to snow plowing, reconstruction, maintenance. We have maintenance contracts with all but the Kalkaska County Road Commission, and that has what we call a direct forces garage there, so we do our own maintenance in Kalkaska County on the state roads. But we have contracts with the other 6 counties and 4 cities, Lake City, City of Cadillac, City of Manistee, and the City of Traverse City. So we have been working on a project for, I guess, a little over a year now on US 31 that's going to go from the M55 intersection south all the way down to Stronach Road. It's a full reconstruction project kicking off in 2027. That project was originally programmed as 2 separate projects to be built in successive years, but we can combine that into one large project. I think it's about a $35 million price tag, extremely substantial investment on MDOT's part. I know everybody's familiar. We were here recently. I had the M55 bridge reconstruction project going for quite some time, and we're just wrapping up the US 31 bridge project over the Manistee. So all in those projects, well in excess of $50 million worth of investment in the community. So, but I'll let Krista go through her presentation on the US 31 project there. But if you have any questions at all while she's going through things, I'm sure either one of us would be glad to answer them. So.
Thanks. Do you want a copy of that?
Sure.
Yep. Well, thank you for having us tonight. We've started, like Dan said, we started planning this project and estimating this project about 7 years ago. And that's when we came up with this $35 million price tag. So once we get further into design, we'll find out exactly what it's costing in today's money, but we're not quite there yet. There's a few things that we need to get to before we get too much into the design. The design is going to be done by MDOT staff. We have hired Spicer, who's you guys know, the engineer for the city of Manistee, to help us with a few detailed things that we need, but most of it's going to be designed in-house by MDOT. But it's going to be a full reconstruction. We're going to take the whole road out and put a whole new road back in. We can't change the alignment too much because if we do, we start affecting everybody's property in terms of if we change the height, the grade high or low, if we try to change the alignment of a curve here or there, it affects property. So we have to stay pretty much within the right of way that we already have. So it's not going to probably look too different at the end of the day, but what we will be doing is providing a road to last for a long time and also try to meet some of Filer Township's goals of getting sidewalk and paths on both sides of the road wherever we can. So with that $35 million budget, we'll do everything we can with that and then work with the township and the city, both townships and the city, to get grants for those things that this $35 million can't cover. So a lot of the things that we might end up, that might be good candidates for grants are the sidewalks on both sides of the road. And there's a lot of grant opportunities out there, and Manistee Township is a great place to spend grant money because it's one spot that the Transportation Alternatives Program has never had a project in Manistee, and they're looking to fund a project in Manistee. So we think we have a good chance of fully funding what we would like to do with this project, which is the brand new road, sidewalks where the township wants the sidewalks, and so on. So we'll be in close communication with you guys throughout. We still have a couple more years of design, but one of the big decisions we need to make is the road cross-section through Manistee is 4 and 5 lanes, and we're considering it doing what's called a lane conversion or a road diet, and that has to be decided first before we actually get into design. Filer Township is not in that boat of having a road diet because you already have the 3-lane cross-section. So we're actually a little bit further ahead in design in Filer Township. And so we're going to try to meet with a group of maybe Terry and somebody to start talking specifics about, we're looking at this particular driveway, we're looking at this particular intersection, this is what we're thinking, and go through the details on that. So we're probably going to start that with Filer Township sooner than later since we're ready to do that. There's some challenging geography to fit sidewalks in some of these areas, so we'll have to talk with you about the route of the sidewalk or path through the township. So I mean, Tom, you look familiar, Tom Steggy and Terry, I think you guys were at the last stakeholder meeting, if I'm...
At City Hall?
At City Hall,
Yep.
yep. So we have the big group get together of both townships in the city. The project itself goes from Stronach Road all the way to M55. And so this presentation I put together, I've given to the city and Manistee Township over the past few weeks. And it's a summary of the road safety audit that was done back in September. So the second slide there, it says the Manistee crash history heat map. So if you look at that slide, it shows the road safety audit looks at what crashes are occurring already, and then what safety improvements can they recommend to help improve these crash patterns and/or take into account the input from the locals on the problems that they've seen with drainage, with people not having a place to walk, and so on. So the heat map on the left shows the total number of crashes, and you can kind of see hot spots where there's intersections. The biggest hot spot is that yellow blob right by the Bascule Bridge on both sides. And then on the right side is the severe crashes where someone was severely injured or killed. So slide 3 is crash trends. So in the window of 2018 to 2023, there were 310 crashes total, all grouped in this region that I showed. So not just Filer Township, but the city and Manistee Township as well. 20% of them were side swipes in the same direction, 20% rear ends, 20% fixed objects, and I'm doing a lot of statistics, but of these 310 crashes total, 62 of them had injuries, and 70% of them occurred during daylight on dry roads, mostly due to speeding and failure to stop, so kind of aggressive driving behaviors. And of special note in that was that 9 were involving motorcycles, which is a little bit higher than average. So during the road safety audit, they have a report, which I can send you guys if you don't have a copy of it, but this presentation kind of summarizes their report. Their first recommendation to help improve crash trends were to implement a consistent cross-section, that basically means the road diet, improve access management, improve pedestrian facilities, intersection-specific improvements, drainage, motorcycle awareness, and signal and signing. So I have a little bit more details on the following slides about those recommendations. So on slide 5, implementing a consistent cross-section. So they basically are recommending a 3-lane corridor throughout the entire section. So it exists down here in Filer, it exists up in Manistee Township, so making that corridor throughout the city of Manistee. We do need the city of Manistee to approve that. So if they, tonight after this meeting, actually we're going to their meeting and they're going to tell us whether or not we can bring that idea of a road diet to a public meeting, which we're going to hold this summer. Everyone will be invited from Filer, Manistee, and the city. Your communities will be invited. We'll send out press releases. We'll probably ask you to promote that for us. And we'll get feedback from the community on the project itself. So we'll have people say, oh, I live in so-and-so and I see this, and they'll give us all kinds of input on the project, and we'll also hopefully bring up the idea of a road diet and see what the temperature of the community is on a road diet. What a road diet does is it calms traffic. So right now, if you want to speed through town and pass everybody, you can. And when you implement a road diet, you can't do that anymore. You have a more consistent speed. You don't have people trying to pass in the left lane and then have to slow down suddenly for someone who's stopped in the left lane trying to turn left, because you'll have a dedicated left turn lane. So it makes the corridor more predictable. It's been shown to reduce crash rates by about 50%. So it makes it a slower, calmer, basically safer cross-section to get through. Some of the downsides are that the passing opportunities does go away. So if you are behind a really slow vehicle, you'll be stuck behind that vehicle, and that's something that's to me, it's not enough for all the safety benefits that it provides. It's not enough for me to say no, but some communities it is. So that's why MDOT has basically said road diet is one thing that we need the community to support, and so the city of Manistee is going to hopefully tell us tonight if they'll let us bring that to a public meeting. If they say no, we're still going to do the public meeting. We're just not going to talk about the road diet, and it'll probably go back the way it is now. So we'll have a public meeting this summer. Our models show that it will work really well with the traffic volumes that we have. It does add about 10 seconds of delay. So that's not a huge amount of delay, in my opinion. Okay, so the next recommendation, slide 6, is to improve access management. There was a 2004 Manistee County US 31 corridor management plan that the Manistee County provided us that we're using to help guide our decisions. But we're also looking at each driveway individually, like I said before, and we're going to take this opportunity to try to make driveways to standard. A lot of businesses over time have driveways that grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. We're going to try to bring it back in, probably at every commercial business, give them curb and gutter so they don't continue to grow. But we will have to talk with each and every business owner, and they have to give us their consent. And if they say no, then we basically put back what's there, because there's a process called eminent domain that we could use, but in most cases it's not worth it. It'll delay the project. We'll do as much as we can do to improve the driveway access management concerns that we have, but if we're told no, then we'll probably just move on and put back what we have there. So that's why, probably before we talk to the property owners, we'll probably talk with Terry and whoever else just to get your opinion on, you know, what would a good approach be with this person. You probably know the owners, maybe not, and certainly with any intersection changes. So those will be some future meetings that we have specifically with Filer Township to work on the details of design as we go through. The next recommendation, slide 7, is to improve pedestrian facilities. So it's our goal to have connectivity on both sides of US 31 all throughout the corridor. Like I said before, if we need to get grants to do that, we will. We'll evaluate all the pedestrian crossings, where we need school crossings, and so on. Slide 8, we're going to look at every single intersection along the way, get traffic counts, make sure how close are we to meeting warrants for traffic signals and stuff like that. We'll evaluate all of that. Review all the site distances as well. I'm not going to harp too long on Memorial Drive because that's in the city. And then slide 9 is a summary of the recommendations. I don't have specific slides, but we are going to redesign the storm drainage system and upsize it, make it accommodate what the current standards show we need to do for storm drainage. Try to incorporate motorcycle awareness strategies into our design. And then signals, all the signals in the corridor and the signs will be upgraded to the latest standard, and we'll take a look at all those and redesign those. So essentially, for the next 2 years, you're going to see a lot of us. Whether or not it's at a setting with all of you guys at once, I'll let Terry decide that. You know, when we need to come update you, there will be points where we will need to have like an agreement with you guys if we do end up building sidewalk on both sides. MDOT doesn't maintain sidewalks, so then the township would have to agree to maintain the sidewalk. Like we would build it and then turn it over to you to maintain. Same thing if you guys wanted some street lighting or something like that, we could incorporate that into the project with some of the grants and then have you guys agree to maintain that. So there'll be some times where we need some agreements from the board or some input from you or your members, and so I'll just work through Terry with that. So that's all I really have. Do you guys have any questions for us about the job? I know you probably want to know how we're going to maintain traffic, when it's going to be, all that stuff. We don't have those details just yet. As we get further into design, we'll have our own plan for traffic, and we'll bring that to you guys. We'll bring it to the public. Our goal is to keep traffic going on US 31 as much as possible. There might be some detours that we need to do, but so the further along we get in design, the more questions we'll be able to answer. But our first kind of focal point for Filer Township is how we're going to fit the sidewalk on both sides and what the path is going to be and so on. So, yeah. What questions do you guys have?
Chris, I got a couple questions. That $35 million project, was that established like in, what was it? You said you started planning actually 5 years ago?
Yeah, and then
Is
at that
when
time,
was established?
yeah, we would have used the inflation rates. What do we think inflation is going to be in the year 2027 when we're building? And so obviously we know it's gone higher than what we thought. So we don't know for sure right now how far that 35 million will get us until we have a better design.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. In the entire project from 55 to Stronach Road, is that going to be phased? It's not going to be, in other words, that whole section is not going to be shut down at one time?
No,
And
most likely.
Can you give us any information on the phasing of it at this time, or?
Not right now. After we have, when we're at about 60%, that's when we're pretty sure that this is what we're going to be doing.
Okay.
And that will tell us how deep we need to go in the ground. And if we're too deep, we can't put traffic next to that. So that'll tell us if we have to detour. So it takes us to be about 60%, which is probably in about a year from now. I'll be able to answer that question. But most likely it'll be phased. They can't do it all
Right,
you know.
right. Yeah, I'll be real interested to see how it's phased when you get to that point.
Yeah.
At one of our meetings, the tribe was there. In our case, from Murky Road into town is reservation.
Okay,
And somebody was talking that there might be possibly funding available for our sidewalks as a grant money available. Has anybody discussed that with you at all from the tribe?
no,
That,
No.
that came up at our last intergovernmental meeting, in fact.
Okay.
And Steve Parsons talked about that.
okay.
And, yeah,
We work with Steve a lot, so.
federal grant availability through the tribe. So, yeah, Steve would be a good one to talk to about
Okay.
that.
So, they are aware of this project. And Krista mentioned the stakeholder meeting that we'll have it sometime later this summer. They'll definitely be invited to that. Steve, we work pretty close with Steve, the transportation
Okay,
planner there.
good.
Actually just had communication with your consultant here just in the last couple of days about their gateway project there.
Oh, yeah,
Looking at.
yeah.
So just trying to understand if they really have much of a, I understand they're not quite ready to pull the trigger on that, but that's a good example though of some of the outreach that we've already done. And the reason that we're here tonight is to get you folks, thinking about this, because if there are things that you were looking, for instance, to try and, capitalize on some economy of scale, for instance, I know your municipal utility system is pretty new, but if there was, for instance, in the city, we're working with them. Krista mentioned earlier that they're working with Spicer, we're working with Spicer to try and do some utility work here. They've got some water main that needs to be replaced, for instance. We're going to be ripping up the road. We'd much rather see that work get done once rather than come back and rip up a brand new road 5-10 years later, do it again, so.
Yeah. And yeah, our sewer system along the highway, that's all in since 2018. And as far as water infrastructure along the highway, most of that is relatively new. I mean, it's newer. Most of the oldest parts of that system are up here in the Oak Hill neighborhood and down in the Fatter City neighborhood. But certainly, yeah, we'll have to get with our operation services and see if there's any potential future expansion that, along the highway that we could take care of in conjunction with this project. I don't see anything right now, but definitely have that discussion with them.
So as far as, if our road project were to require that we do something with your water or sewer, our project would cover that cost. Because we're, necessitating the move with our project. As far as something that might have a cost to Filer Township, if there were something, so most grants require a match, a 20% match or whatever it is in the engineering. So in this case, MDOT's doing the engineering, so we'll cover that. We'll probably cover the match for this sidewalk cost. The only part where we might not cover the match is if you wanted anything extra, like street lighting, benches, some kind of unique landscaping or something like that. We can add that into our project, we can design it, but that portion of the match would come from township funds. That's probably gonna be the only cost to your township, I think. Everything else should be covered by MDOT. And we'll probably be your partner on the grants, but we might need your, a letter of support or something with the grants. So,
Good.
yeah.
Along the lines of sidewalks, something that I did had a conversation with, we've talked to NC Township about this a little bit, is MDOT doesn't maintain sidewalks, however.
Right.
So if the township did want sidewalks incorporated into the project, assuming they were in the right of way, we could afford to build them with this project, we would, but it would be on you folks to maintain them. So it's just something I want people to be aware of, because if we build them, if you don't maintain them, i.e. plow them during the summer or the winter rather, you're gonna hear about it, so. Gotta get that on the table, because we realize there's a cost associated with that, so.
Yeah. Duly noted.
When's the bridge gonna open?
Oh my gosh, Dan?
Everybody wanted to ask.
I told Chris that was sense in there getting beat up about this, so the bridge, I talked to actually to both our construction engineer and our assistant construction engineer within, well, the last 2 hours, and they had a progress meeting today. They have every other week progress meeting down there, so there's some things going on with some very unique parts on that bridge that they're just not something that you can just go buy at the hardware store. They're literally one-off parts that are being manufactured, specifically where the moving pieces mesh together. They're having some issues with that. They've got some modified drawings that our central bridge unit down in Lansing is reviewing, and assuming that they approve them and they can make the modifications that are being proposed, they're hoping within the next 3 weeks the bridge will be done. So there's kind of 3 issues that are hanging things up right now, but that's the one that's kind of the biggest critical path that could cause some issues. So we've all done, renovation projects at our house. That bridge is 91 years old, and they've found some surprises. So I'm not up here to make excuses, but our folks are I can tell you they're working as hard as they can to keep things on track and to try and anticipate how they can make everything come together here. So we're hoping to have it done by Memorial Day, which was already an adjusted deadline. So
4th of July?
4th of July.
Labor Day.
we're aware of the parade, and that was my discussion. I said, look, I mean, nobody wants to hear that it's going to be delayed, but if we do start seeing that could be an issue, we need to provide the community obviously some time to make adjustments if for instance that parade needed to be adjusted. So I'm being told 2 to 3 weeks. It's ahead of the 4th of July, so that's best information I can give you right now.
A good comeback for you is the bridge is open. It is open right now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Depends on which way you're going.
That doesn't go over very well, though, I guess.
That's true.
Dan, in the September 22nd meeting, in the stakeholder meeting number 2, there was some notes in there about the 2 rail crossings in the city. And, I guess there was a note there about what the perceived outcome of that might be. Is there any updates on that?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I think that is causing a little bit of confusion in the community. There was a grant that was applied for to do a study of that.
Right.
A rail consolidation study, basically, is something I know you folks are aware of and talked about for a long time. If that kind of duplicative rail corridor going around the west side of the lake were eliminated, how would that look? And we have not been able to uncover any information that suggests that there's any funding that would be available to implement that. So
Yeah.
they have awarded the contract, I'm to understand, to a consultant that's doing the study.
Yeah.
But it's another study. I would imagine that this project is going to incorporate those rail crossings.
Yeah, that was kind of the way I perceived what was written, and I know they got $900,000 in grant money, and I think they have spent just about half of that. Well, that was as of maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago was the last I heard anything. So
there's a few other studies that would affect this corridor, though, that our folks are aware of and have reviewed through that section there, so that I just want folks to be aware that we're aware of them. County planning's been involved from the onset. They participated in the road safety audit, for instance. Can't really think of anything really earth-shaking that's come out of that, but we're aware it's out there. But as far as the rail corridor itself, though, it's probably still be there. Would be my guess if I had to lay down a bet tonight.
we did meet with the railroad owner, and the Manistee Township planner who's doing the study, and the railroad owner hadn't heard anything about the study yet. So based on the timing, we have to upgrade the crossings to the current standards, which is probably what we're gonna end up doing with the project. It's probably not, there's nothing, like Dan said, there's nothing that tells us we're gonna somehow by 2027 align, but if we do, great. But at this point, we're gonna probably just upgrade the crossings to the current standards.
We have heard also from a few folks about the, can you folks underground the overhead utilities that are in the corridor? I know they're quite unsightly and they do pose a significant strike hazard. Short answer with that, I guess, as long as we're here talking, is that we can't force the utility companies to underground their facilities. So they're allowed by law to be in our right of way under permit. So if there's room for them to be overhead, they can be overhead. Was approached by one of your county commissioners, I can't remember the gentleman's name off the top of my head right now, after a recent meeting, who was made aware of some sort of a resiliency grant, I guess, that the utility companies were looking for some pilot projects to do some things like undergrounding overhead power specifically. And I did look into that, but that hit a dead end very quick. And I was told that while it's true that they are looking at some pilots, they apparently already have several other viable candidates in other parts of the state, and that there wouldn't be any money for this project. So we can encourage them, but we can't require that. So I know it's very expensive for them to underground their utilities, so it probably won't happen.
Anyone have any other questions? Okay, well, thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Krista.
Yep.
Thanks
Appreciate
very
the
much.
information.
We will be in touch.
Getting to know each
Yes.
other as we move forward here, so.
Have a good night.
Thank you, good night.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on then to communications and announcements. Again, you have in your packet the letter regarding the Little Manistee River from the Watershed Council. Interesting reading, if nothing else. And the item B, the flyer for the DDA's Filer Food Truck Frenzy and Concert. I guess I would just ask that you share that with as many as you can, friends, via internet, whatever, Facebook, get the word out. Hopefully they'll have a little better attendance this year than last year. I thought it was a real nice event last year and was well worth attending. The problem was it was held in July, the same evening as the pier run or whatever it was called. That they had a same type of event going on over on the north side by St. Mary's over there at Duffy Park, wherever they had food trucks and whatnot. So it definitely affected the turnout here. But this year, I think they've picked a lot better date for it, and hopefully we'll see a heavier turnout. Okay, under Department and Committee reports, item A in your packet is the monthly report from Operations Services. B is your report from the city on the sewer usage. Item C is the DDA's monthly report. Item E, the Building and Grounds minutes are in your packet. Those are from the May 20, recall the date, May 20th meeting. And there is the proposal there from D&L Shaw in the amount of $3,646.50. And again, that's for the autumn olive clearing at Magoon Creek. If you recall, when they did that in 2020, they did a lot of clearing along both sides of the road going into the park, and then they did a lot of clearing on the path going down to the creek mouth, widened it considerably, and it's been a big improvement. Problem with autumn olive, if you don't get it out by the roots or poison it, it comes back, and so along the roadway it has come back. It's, you know, it's not up very high, so they're going to be able to hit that and do that again much more quickly than last time when they were tackling bushes anywhere from 4 or 5 feet high to probably 8 to 10 feet high. So they're looking this time at spending, probably putting in a little more time along some of our trails and start getting rid of more of the autumn olive along the hiking trails in the park. So, any questions on that bid?
They did a good job.
They did a good job.
Yeah, they did a real nice job, and it's,
Need a motion to approve that?
yeah, we just need a motion to
I'll make
approve.
the motion.
I'll support it.
Okay, we have a motion by Hachinsky, second by Brian Cruz to approve the bid from DL Shaw for the autumn olive clearing at Magoon Creek Park in the amount of $3,646.50. Any further discussion on that? Okay. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item F are the Planning Commission minutes from May 21st. G is the Zoning Administrator's report. And by the way, our new zoning administrator has been very busy. He's scheduled to be here on Thursdays right now. He did come over this afternoon and spent some time in the office. Beginning in July, I forget which date it is in July, but then he's going to start holding Tuesday office hours as well as Thursday here in the township. So, and he's doing a lot of work remotely via phone and computer. Let's see, the Elections Commission met, I forget the date, just last week, was it?
I believe it was, yeah.
And those minutes are in your packet. Item J, the Fire Department, Jim's report is on your table in front of you. Jim, is there anything you wanted to add to that report?
Other than, we got a couple of projects that we're gonna be looking at, we need a couple 100 feet of rain gutter put on the fire station. Today was a perfect example, we had water running everywhere, when that downpour hit, but, you can't get in the doors when it's raining like that, so I'm gonna go to the, building and grounds committee, and have them go through the steps of that.
Yeah.
Carpets need to be cleaned and the floors need to be polished, that type of thing. The person that used to do that is no longer with us, so that's something that we're going to probably have to have hired done. So we're going to be looking at just doing a couple of those projects.
Okay. Good. Speaking of water everywhere, we had some water in the basement again today. Was that downpour in that one corner where we've had a problem in the past. I went down and looked at it. It drained well into the floor drain there, and there's not standing water there now, but it's something that we had Gary Schrader take a look at probably 4 years ago to do some repairs there, and we tried to identify, and we, after moving some of the stone and that, we kind of were able to narrow it down to where we thought the leak was coming from, but then I think that was about the time that COVID hit, and we never went anywhere with that. And it hasn't been an issue since. We've had some good rains, and I've checked it out, and hasn't been any leakage. And then tonight when I came in, I see a note from Tammy in my box that it leaked, and so I went down and looked at it, and it's like I say, the floor's just damp in that one corner where it's coming in at. When that happened 4 or 5 years ago, we had, of course, then we had equipment stored in there too that we don't have there now, but had standing water there for a day or two. So anyway, just an update on that. We may be looking at a repair job there down the road. Okay, that takes us to new business. Item A is consideration of approval in the amount of $109.99 to Jack Pine for a computer monitor for the zoning administrator. This is not a replacement, it's a second monitor. And when Bob explained it to me and how he would use it and that, I just thought, yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense, because I know I've been on that computer over there at times, you know, with the parcel files and going back and forth from map to parcels, and it's a headache. And with that and other kinds of usage as well, he can have one thing on one screen and something else on the other, and just work a whole lot more effectively. So, you know, he asked for that, and I said, makes a lot of sense to me. So
I'll make a motion for $109.99 to Jack Pine for that
Support.
unit.
okay, we have a motion by Brian Cruz and second by Hitchinski to approve the purchase of the computer monitor from Jack Pine in the amount of $109.99. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Item B is consideration of approval in the amount of $17,393 to Northern Pump and Well for cleaning of well 4. That was the one I believe I did forward to all of you in an email a little over a month ago when, you know, I think I'd spoken a few months back about Josh commenting that he's been watching over the last 8 to 12 months and slowly decline in output of well 4. And so we said we got to get it addressed. We were going to do that 2 or 3 months ago, and then we had the issues with well 2 and had to take care of those and put well 4 off. And so we finally got to well 4. It was in dire need of cleaning. It was, Josh told me, I didn't see it when they pulled it, but he said when they pulled it there was so much gunk on it, and slime and whatnot, and so they got it all cleaned up. Went through the whole process they do, Northern Pump and Well did, and then they put it back into operation. And like I said, when Josh went to get the first water sample, the VFD quit functioning. And I asked somebody, he said they will go out, you know, they have a lifespan, and when they go, you got to replace them. And so that kind of, of course, irrigation season coming, and that we were real concerned because we had, for example, Pine Ridge wanting to start the irrigation, and I had to tell them you can't, you got to hold off until we get well 4 back online, because otherwise we're not going to be able to furnish everyone with water. And they were real good about working with us on that. Very understanding and patient. And when we thought we were going to have it back in short order, that's when the VFD went, and so it was delayed about another week before we got it back online. But fortunately, and also Mother Nature really cooperated. We had a lot of rain during that time, and so it's back up and running well now. And
Is it back to normal
yeah,
pumping capacity?
yeah. I'll check with Josh on where those numbers are at. If it's back to what we were seeing a year ago or not, hopefully it should be.
Yeah.
And the decline over that period of time was very, very small, he said, but the fact that it was consistently each month showing a little bit less pumpage.
I'd like to know though if we're back to where we were.
Yeah, I'll check with him and get some numbers from him. So we do need a motion to approve that.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Dean Cruz and second by Dale Kolonuski to approve the quote from Northern Pump and Well in the amount of $17,393. And just, I guess, just in case, I haven't got any update on that. That was what they estimated it was gonna be, barring any unforeseen things, and I asked Josh last week to get me any updates on costs and that, and I haven't gotten anything, so I'm hopeful that that's gonna cover everything from Northern Pump and Well. But, their quote said, if it requires a little bit more than what they anticipated, then they'll be coming back for a little bit more, so. At any rate, it's a report. Shirley, you want to call a roll on that, please?
Kalinowski,
Yes.
Stady,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Dean Cruz,
Yes.
Brian Cruz.
Yes.
Kaczynski,
Yes.
Paul, yes.
Okay, item C is upon supervisor's recommendation, consideration of approval of the appointment of a member, a resident in the Downtown Development District to the DDA to serve a 2-year term ending December 31st, 2026. And there was one applicant for that vacancy, and that was Jackie O'Connor. And I've talked with her previously, and she helped us out in our grant application process for our Oak Hill grant, the Spark grant, about a year ago, and so I'm happy to recommend Jackie O'Connor for that DDA position.
I'll make a motion to approve your recommendation. Support.
Motion by Steggy, second by Hachinsky to approve supervisor's recommendation to appoint Jackie O'Connor to the DDA as a resident in the district. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item D is the quote from Berman Flower on the firefighters insurance policy. And I guess to start any discussion on this, Jim, is there anything that you've got, any input you want to provide on that?
From what I just got this afternoon, so from what I understand is that the current policy that we have that is up for renewal, they're taking out the cancer part of it.
Right.
So with that being said, I would not recommend that we renew that particular policy. The other, Plan 1, it looks like is what we would be looking at doing. Plan 2, according to the information I had, is for full-time fire personnel on Plan 2, is the way I understood it to be described. So Plan 1 would be with the on-duty, what's it called?
On call,
Line of duty cancer insurance benefit rider. That would be with the invoices here that they're referencing to. It looks like Plan 1 would be for volunteer organizations, and Plan 2, if you look at the description on it, on page on this one right here, where the plan of insurance for the Township Fire Department, at the very top, it's class 1, all volunteer class of members, including but not limited to volunteer members. And class 2 is the career personnel of the policyholders.
Right.
My understanding of that would be that Plan 2, or Class 2, would be for a full-time department.
Yeah, something like the city.
And in going through the list of benefits here, the only difference is the fact that Plan 1 has a line of duty cancer initiative diagnostic benefit rider. and the difference is $5,000 between Plan 1 and Plan 2. That's the only difference in anything that I saw on any of the costs or the benefits on this particular program. So, right now, what little bit I know about this, it's looking like Plan 1 would be, or Plan 1, I think, is what we'd be looking at doing.
Yeah, and what you've done is Plan 1 with the 3-year prepaid in the past, and I looked at everything there too, Jim, and kind of saw it the way you did. The only thing I wasn't able to find, I was looking for that cancer rider on there, and you said you found it. I didn't see it, so.
But
the cancer rider on this part, it's on the very first, section 1, no, I'm sorry, section 2, the very last one, under letter H, line of duty cancer initiative diagnostic benefit rider. And it's 0 on this particular plan that's renewable right now. It's $5,000 on Plan 1 and $10,000 on Plan 2.
Okay, yeah,
And that's not a cost, that is a benefit
yeah,
for from what I'm understanding, is for the diagnosis of if you were to get cancer. And that's what that would be for, I believe. So all the other items on there, all the other coverages on there are exactly the same between the two.
Right,
Between the 3 plans, everything else is exactly the same,
Yep.
except for that one item.
But it's new, we really need to have them explain it all to us, so we're sure that we're understanding it.
That's correct.
and making sure that you've got that coverage that you have in your current plan.
Correct.
That's going away.
I think I would want to talk to somebody from Burger Flower.
So has there been any kind of a discussion of this among the other departments, or?
No, this is the first I heard of it.
Okay.
So, this afternoon is the first I heard of it. So.
Yeah. We just got this after the.
Well, and like I said,
put together.
Tammy forwarded it to me. I went through it the best I could, as quick as I could this afternoon, and that's basically what I picked up on it. As far as that, and with that new rider, I think it would behoove us to do that just because of the fact is there are so many more different types of material that we're dealing with in a fire. Everything nowadays causes cancer, everything does. So, if you go back and you look at some of the stuff about the AFFF foam that was used in the past, I'm the oldest guy in the fire department, and I'm sure that I've had contact with that AFFF sometime in my 35 years on the department.
I know you have. 'Cause you did some work
Yeah.
down in Filer City on a vacant house using that.
So, those exposures are there, and that type of thing. So, for them to take out the cancer rider out of the existing policy, I wouldn't even consider renewing the existing policy that we currently have.
Well, I'm wondering if we don't have to have the policy to be able to get this rider also.
I'm sorry?
We may need to have that policy and then purchase this rider over and above. Well, we need to talk to them.
Yeah. I'm understanding that this is a new policy.
Well, I don't know.
That's my understanding, that this is a new policy, and I guess you'd have to compare the old policy to the new policy to see if that is comparable. Unless you're talking about, we're renewing the old policy and using this and buying this rider.
I believe that's the way I read it, but,
That's not the way I understood it.
Can you come in and get together with Shirley and maybe make a call to Berman Flower and
Certainly.
get
Yeah.
definitive answers on that? We could approve that contingent upon
Right, okay, sure,
the cancer rider.
correct.
Okay.
Because now that Shirley brought that up, I mean, that's confusing to me. I don't know the answer to that.
When's the other policy up?
That would be something they have to have.
End of June, I think, isn't it? The current
Well,
policy is up
this
July
rider will
1st.
take effect July 1,
Yeah,
is what they're talking about.
so June 30 probably is the expiration of the old policy. Well, I'll make a motion that we approve this coverage that's presented in this packet with Berman Flower for the fire department insurance contingent upon the cancer rider being included, or I suppose if there's an additional cost for that rider, you're looking at, you're interpreting it as an additional cost?
I didn't interpret it as, I was under the impression that this was a completely different policy with that particular rider on it.
Okay. Okay, then I guess that my motion would be to approve that policy for, that was one?
That'd be plan one.
Yeah, Plan 1 with the 3-year prepaid premium contingent upon the cancer rider being included in that policy. You got that?
But I don't think it is.
Yeah,
It
if
says
you're looking
you
at
have
about,
the
if
opportunity
you're
to
looking at
purchase.
about $800, it looks like, about the difference in premium for 3 years. Because the present plan, the 3-year prepaid is $48.30, and plan number 1 for a 3-year prepaid premium is $56.91, so
Right.
about $800. So with the rider, with the cancer rider, it's like $800 for over 3 years more than what we currently have. If I'm looking at that correctly.
So then I need to have my motion include the rider at
Okay, so how
a
about
potential increased cost up to,
up to? that's
1,000?
what I wrote. Yep, not to exceed, well,
or not,
1,000.
yeah, not to exceed $1,000 of additional cost for the policy. And then if we're not interpreting that correctly, we'll have to revisit this.
Yeah.
I'll second that motion.
Okay? Do you want to read the motion so we know?
We're going with Plan 1 for the 3-year plan,
Prepaid.
prepaid, 3-year prepaid it is called, yeah. With the addition of the cancer rider at a cost not to exceed $1,000 for that same 3-year period.
Okay.
Do you think?
It's not $800 some dollars per year.
You don't think it's $800 per year?
No, because I was taking the total of the 3-year plan was 48 something for present, and it was
In addition, okay, all right.
5,600 for the
That's
new
the way
plan,
it
Plan
is,
1
too, Dale.
was 5,600
That's the way
for
it is,
the
too.
3-year prepaid.
That's what I think.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. That's
All right,
what
we'll
I'll
go with that. Any discussion?
Give me a call and we will get on the phone with
Okay.
this
Okay.
lady, this Bobby Pritchard.
You want to do a roll call on that, Shirley, just to,
Sure.
interesting.
Walker,
Yes.
Krasinski,
Yes.
Staggy,
Yes.
Wall, yes, Kalinovsky.
Yes.
Cruz.
Yes.
Dean Cruz, Brian Cruz.
Yes.
Okay, item E is the invoice from Top Line for the variable frequency drive for well 4. They had a total cost of $10,522.60.
I'll make the motion to accept that bid of 10,000.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Brian Coos, second by D. Cruz to approve the quote from Top Line in the amount of $10,522.60 for the VFD and the technicians' installation of that for well 4. Any discussion?
What is a VFD?
Variable frequency drive. And what that does, basically, it allows for the changes in power surges and the startup and stop and so on. Particularly the startup, there's a tremendous surge and, yeah.
I think they call it a soft start.
Yeah,
Or it just the motor
Starts
starts
easy
and
and
ramps up to
builds.
its full potential, but it just doesn't
yeah,
bam and hit you with
yep.
a spike.
Then you fry everything.
What's that?
Then you fry everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that's all controlled by that particular piece of equipment. Let's see, we had the motion,
Yep,
okay, and
we had a second.
second,
Right.
yeah. And any other questions or discussion? Okay, Shirley, you want to do a roll call?
Puchinsky,
Yes.
Dean Cruz.
Yes.
Paul, yes. Brian Cruz.
Yes.
Stuckey,
Yes.
Kalinowski.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes. Okay, public comment, anything else tonight? Public comment? Okay,
I just have a question.
yes, Jim.
When is the obnoxious weed ordinance? There's 2 times a year that you have to do this, right?
No, that's been changed.
It has been changed.
Yep, it's
Okay.
12 inches now.
Okay, well, the shit next to me is waist high, okay? And,
You talk about the vacant,
I'm talking about the house right next door to me.
yeah,
It's waist high.
yep,
I filed a formal complaint with the zoning administrator yesterday.
okay.
I just was wondering, how long does that process take in order to get the grass? Because it really looks like shit
Yeah,
around the neighborhood with that grass. There's trees growing on his roof. I mean, it's
yeah,
just-
we've got a few of those. In fact, Jim, that's one of the properties I just had Tammy run me some information on, that I'm going to be turning over to the county on the, we just had, at our last board meeting, come and speak on blighted properties and that. The city's been able to get some work done on homes of that sort through grant money that the county got. And so that's one that I'm submitting along with a couple of others. Then as far as your question on how long the process takes, Bob has to send a letter to the
My
owner.
understanding is from Tammy is that the letter has already been sent out.
Okay, then they have 10 days
Okay.
to take care of it, and if it's not taken care of, then we turn it over to the company that we've employed to, they'll come in and cut it then and bill us, and then we bill them.
They don't have any things hidden in weeds.
What's that?
Do they have anything hidden like the other one we had where they had boards, pipes?
Oh, yeah, there's everything's in there, okay? There's grass cutters and garbage
Yeah, what
cans.
we have was so bad. that-
Metal rods, and there's a smoker out back, and there's a ladder laying in there, there's lawn furniture laying out there back.
Yeah, it's a hassle, a problem, and we've been dealing with that every year. Now, some of them that have been habitual offenders, we're no longer dealing with, they're taking care of them, but we've still got those that do not, and we
Well, I mean,
still,
it's got an abandoned vehicle sitting in the driveway also. I mean, the neighbor across the street from me, they finally came and they finally cut their grass, and they had a wrecker come and pull the truck out of the driveway. And so that's cleaned up across the street. So I'm assuming that the letter that they got kind of sparked them a little bit to take care of that. So,
yeah, it must have.
but, I mean, with all the crap that's there, I mean, it's gotta be moldy, it's starting to
Yeah.
smell. I got possums and coons
Yeah,
and chipmunks and squirrels and everything else up on top of my roof and in my garage, and it's all coming from there. So,
well, And from what I understand, if I'm thinking about the right owner, that's evidently tied up in court right now.
It is, and he's claiming, apparently, he's claiming that he is not allowed to go on the property to
Yeah.
cut the grass. So, and I think that's,
Yeah. But he
it's a little far-fetched, that, you know, the court system is not gonna just let this fester, okay? I just can't believe that they would. Okay?
Well,
Somebody's gotta be responsible for that piece of property.
yeah, yeah. And that's,
Whether it's tied up in court or not, somebody has to be responsible for that piece of property.
Yeah, their liability, I mean,
Right.
someone gets hurt, someone's gotta be responsible.
I mean, you can't walk down the sidewalk.
yeah. Well, if and I wasn't aware that Bob had already sent the letter, so if he has, then basically the clock is counting right now, and after 10 days, if nothing is done, then he will contact the company we've hired to, and they respond real quickly
Yeah.
on those, so.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and if nothing happens, if it's the same way
Well,
in 2
I'll be knocking on
weeks,
your door if nothing happens, okay, so-
pardon me?
I'll be knocking on your door if nothing happens.
Well, I was gonna say, give me a call. All right, anything else come before the board tonight?
Yeah, Tammy showed something to me late in the afternoon that was in the new MTA thing about the MTA on the road, which is taking place up in the UP again by Escanaba, at that thing. It's in 23rd of July or something like that, but they need to know by the 2nd. So if anybody wanted to do that, then it would have to probably be talked about at this meeting, but if not, then whatever.
Yeah, and I don't recall seeing
That
that.
just came with
I
today's
think it was
mail.
in your
Well, it might have been online too.
magazine.
It came
Okay,
through-
well, I just got my magazine today and I haven't looked at it yet.
It's in
But
front of you, right there.
why don't we do an approval for that in the event that somebody
It
that's.
could be nobody wants to go, but
Yeah.
if we do, then.
But we
somebody's
have had people go to those in the past. So, do you want to make a motion to that effect, Tom?
coming. I guess I
If you
can.
know
Make a motion for any board member to attend the MTA on the road at near Escanaba, I guess it is, and accommodations thereof.
I'll support. We went a couple years ago to that.
yeah, so
It was, I think that was in
I'll
September.
have to look up the.
well, I think the one we went to was still was the annual, but it was the first year they had it after a 2-year
Because of COVID.
because of COVID, and it was held up there. But I think that was their annual, but it
No, it
was,
wasn't, it wasn't an annual, but
it wasn't on the road one?
it was an on-the-road type
Oh,
thing, but it
okay.
was up, but they were doing it in the UP because they hadn't been able to
I
do
think it's
anything
called the Up North
up
Summit.
north.
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
They've had it at Escanaba a lot of years, and then,
Well,
yeah,
that sounds like that's what this
Yeah.
is. I haven't
Okay.
even looked, just
The
looked at it.
Yeah.
regional ones are coming in the fall
yeah.
that we usually attend.
Okay, any other discussion on, did we have a second? Yeah,
Yeah.
motion by Steggy and a second by Ryan Cruz. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, anything else to come before the board tonight for the betterment of the cause? Dean, you got anything?
Nothing.
Dale?
No.
Shirley?
Nope.
Tom? Brian?
I just want to say, Monday, they're supposed to start Linwood,
Yep.
Ramona, and Red Apple.
Yep.
It's just a matter of a week or two, and they're gonna be done. It's gonna be quick.
Yeah. And
One
tagging
inch overlay.
on to that, I talked with Brad Kluczynski today, and he's still working with Mark Thompson out of Bear Lake on the cutting of this big dead tree over here, the oak tree, and then also looking at,
Linwood tree?
no,
Oh.
the one right across the street here.
Because isn't there a tree issue on Linwood?
Yeah, there is.
I don't know that there's an issue. It was brought up at the Building and Grounds about, because there are three large trees on the east side of Linwood that we ought to look at have them taken care of in conjunction with this project. Well, the following day I contacted Brad Kuczynski, and he said it was too late for that. They were already, well, a lot of his crew is out brining now and grading, and today when I talked to them, they were supposed to start this week on our storm drains, cleaning those out, but he said that'll be dependent on weather, and he says there's a lot of rain forecast for the week, but he said if, they'll be working on those. Well, obviously they couldn't do anything with them today. But that, and then I also asked him about the tree, and he's still trying to nail down a date with Mark, I think it is, Thompson out of Bear Lake, Thompson Tree Service, and I also called him, Thompson, about, it was just last week, about coming down and taking a look at a few of our trees here in Oak Hill Park, and then there's two big oaks at the Nelson Street office. One we just lost a big limb on, came down partially on our property and partially on the neighbor's property. Paul's been getting that cut up, but looking at that, there's another limb that's angled to the north that if it comes down, it's going to come down on the garage and part of the building. And then the big oak immediately behind the office to the east, there's a big limb growing to the west that if that one comes down, it's coming down on the roof. So I wanted to have him give us a quote to get those two trimmed, and then also take a look at our Oak Hill Park about doing some more trimming there. We've had him do some there in the past. So, but he hasn't gotten back to me on that yet. So.
But this one out here is going, right?
That
This dead one here.
That one is supposed to be going, crew with the road commission is helping him with that, because they're gonna have to close traffic down on the street, because he's gonna have to drop it into the street. But they are contracting with Thompson to do that, so.
At least they're doing something now.
What's that?
At least they're doing it now. For years back, we didn't have that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Piece of steel. There's a piece of steel embedded in that tree, quite a ways up. It's like a flat stock. Take a look at it. It's almost buried into the tree. If somebody goes through with a chainsaw and hit that baby.
Yeah. Tom, you got anything else?
We're out for bids on sidewalk repairs. Is that gonna come out of the same fund as what we're spending with the road commission for our roads? And how much is in that fund?
It's an itemized fund on the general fund account.
Yeah.
For sidewalk repairs.
On a general fund, out of the general fund? Okay. That was the only thing I...
Couldn't get nobody last year to do it, so we didn't get no sidewalks last year.
No.
If we can't get anybody to do that, let's go with asphalt then and
See if we can get someone to do that. Well, I've got 3 names on my phone that I'm going to contact. A couple of them are ones that you gave me names on, and so I'm just going to call them and ask them to bid on it. So, although I did that with Swiderski a couple of years ago, and they came and got the information in that and said they'd submit a bid, and then they never did. So.
well, it's tough to do jobs like that.
Yeah.
You have to have a big crew to do it.
Yep. Okay, that's all I've got. So motion for adjournment and
So move.
motion by Achinsky, second by Brian Cruz to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you.
Street light, I'm good.